actually going to be using an array to understand these fractions, right? To make sense of what's a half of 24, what's a fourth of 24, and keep going. The array, you'll notice, is 4 this way, right? It's a 4 by 6 grid, so it's 24 squares, and that's perfect. So if you want to understand halves and fourths and eighths and thirds of 24, you could set up a 4 by 6 array. And there are other arrays we could use, but I'm going to use this. So half of 24 would just take up half this grid. And we can draw it this way, 2 by 6 to get 12, or 3 by 4. Either way, if we colored it in 3 by 4, it would fill these 12 squares. And that means that a half of 24, well, that's just 12. Any way you look at it. What's a fourth of 24? Well, there you might connect, oh, a fourth is half of a half. So this must be half the size of half of 24, or 6. Right? And that means that we can have a 2 by 3 cutout of this, and that would fit into the shape 4 times. You can see it, I think, if I was to say, if I cut these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces like this, oh, that fits nicely into the grid 4 times, so that's a fourth. But of course, you could also just cut it as a 1 by 6. You can cut these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, and that fits into the grid 4 times. So that means these 6 pieces are 1/4 of 24 pieces, so the answer is 6. Now, 1/8, you might notice, is half of that. It's right. We start with the half, cut that in 2, we get a fourth. Cut that in 2, we get an eighth. Which means our answers go from 12 to 6, and then we'll divide by 2, and we'll get 3. So that means that to understand what an eighth of this would look like, well, it's kind of cool. To understand what an eighth of this will look like, we actually need to think of half this. So I'm going to cross these out. These 3 right here fit into the grid 8 times. Now there is not another way to write that. There couldn't. I mean, anyway, it's 1, 2, 3 this way or this way. But those 3 pieces as a rectangle will fit into this 8 times, no matter how we look at it. Now a third of 24, a little bit trickier. We're going to have to look at this a different way and say, okay, well, what size piece fits into this, into 24, 3 times? And I think you might notice something cool here, that an eighth of 24 is 3, and a third of 24 is 8. And what's happening there is that 8, 1/8, goes into 24 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24, and conversely, 3 times 8 is 24. Right? So if we had these 1, 2, 3, put these back 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces repeated 3 times, we'd fill up the grid. It's much easier to see if I was just to number them like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see this rectangle right here fits nicely 1, 2, 3 times into the array, and that just tells me that amount is a third. Now next we're switching up, so now we have a fourth of 12, and I think you'll see how it connects to the other parts of this string. Right? These all connect in some way. A fourth of 12. Well, now we have half this grid, so I'm going to cut it in half. Right? We have now 4 by 3. What's a fourth of that? Well, that's just going to be these 1, 2, 3 pieces. If I repeat that 1, 2, 3, 4 times, I fill up the 3 by 4, 12 array, and that means that the 1/4 of 12 is just 3. Notice it connects right to this, right? These two both equal 3. Since 1/4 of 12 is 3 and 1/8 of 24 is 3, somehow 1/8 of 24 is equal to 1/4 of 12. The way I look at it is that, well, we took 24 and divided that by 2, we got 12. Okay, so that number is half the size of 24, but a fourth is bigger than an eighth. In fact, it's twice as big. So it's a fun thing to say, oh, well, if I take this number and cut it in half, and then I take the other number and make it twice as big, I really haven't changed anything. I'm just multiplying an eighth by 2 to get a fourth, and dividing 24 by 2 to get 12. So multiply, divide by 2, nothing changes. And in fact, isn't the same thing here? Again, we're taking 12, dividing that by 2 to get 6. We're taking a fourth, doubling that to get a half. So you double a fourth and you half a 12, you're still going to end up with 3. And we can see that in the array. If these are my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, half of that will just be, well, 3 of them. So 3 out of 6 is a half. And that tells us a lot of things here. That, first of all, we can draw these with a picture and understand what's happening. And then through those pictures, we can understand how these different equations are, in fact, connected. Hope that helped.